Greg left? Oh, that's too bad. All right, then let's bring up Meg Kerr from New York Lawn Society.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, sponsors, thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on these two bills this evening. My name is Terry Gray. I'm the Deputy Director of DEM for Environmental Protection, and I've been pretty much the DEM lead on PFAS for the past 4 or 5 years. I'll start with the easy one first. We are here, and DEM supports the passage of H 7307, which has to do with PFAS in food packaging. As it was stated earlier, it's really the best practice to get the material out of commerce early before it gets into the waste stream and before it impacts our environment. So that's pretty straightforward and short. With respect to House 7216, we definitely support the 3 provisions that apply to DEM. The first one has to do with the establishment of groundwater standards for the PFAS compounds that you just discussed with the health department. A lot of our work on groundwater will be keyed off the decisions made in the Department of Health process. So as you commented earlier, we've been working very closely with the health department to go through the rationale, the health data. We followed up on the detections by both testing private wells and looking for sources of the contamination. So that's been our role in the response so far. The second piece is surface water. So our rivers, our streams, our lakes, our reservoirs, we will develop what we call an action level for surface water, not so much a standard, but an action level for surface water for the same PFAS compounds that we end up regulating in drinking water. And then finally, the third piece that applies to DEM has to do with regulation of our landfill, not only our 2 active landfills in Tiverton and Johnston, but there's approximately 98 old landfills, many of which are still going through groundwater monitoring. So we will add PFAS to the monitoring schemes in those active projects to make sure that they're not polluting our groundwater as well. So with that, I would just like to open it up for any questions that you might have with respect to the DEM role in this.
We'll just hold off my questions.
Okay.
All 3 of you
Thank you.
testify. That way we can try and get questions that are answered. Maybe one of the other ones do it. So, Mr. Vanderslice.
Good evening. I'm Robert Vanderslice. I'm retired as leader of the Rhode Island Department of Health's Healthy Homes and Environment team. I'm previously a toxicologist for the Office of Drinking Water at EPA's headquarters in Washington. But I'm here today as a member of the public. I was encouraged to come when I saw Director Scott last Friday. So pulled out of retirement from the sidelines because I have an appreciation for how difficult problem regulating PFAS is. And although we've talked about 6 drinking water regulations coming up, we only have a few hundred or thousand other PFAS compounds to worry about. So if we're going to address a problem that complex, we're going to need open discussion and debate. And so I'm very happy to hear your comments about trying to open up these discussions. And I'd like to thank the sponsors as well. 4 quick points. Point number 1, PFAS chemicals are new, but we have been here before. Managing chemicals that persist in the environment, accumulate in the human body. We've done that with DDT and PCBs, and they didn't go away by themselves. It was because of the action of legislators and regulators. And so the sooner we start working on PFAS, the sooner we're going to conquer this problem. So I'm very hopeful that despite the problems, we're going to make some progress. Second point, data are always lacking. So for all those other compounds, you're going to hear that a lot. Back in 1974, when the Safe Drinking Water Act was first enacted, sponsors recognized the tendency of scientists to demand more research before taking action. And they were The bill was set up to regulate a lot of chemicals quickly with mandated timelines and mandated simple procedures for calculating standards for minimal data. And it's worked. So data are always lacking, but it doesn't mean we can't act. Third, state agencies have options for achieving the goals of the bill. So this bill reflects public concern about PFAS chemicals in the environment, our exposures to them, and whether they impact our health. It focuses on drinking water and food packaging, but they're in plenty of other places as well. Drinking water regs are only one strategy. There are others, and can we encourage our state to look at other ways to monitor, evaluate, and respond to risks? The last point is that complex exposures can be communicated simply. So each day, the Projo weather page has a colored icon about air quality. Today, it was blue, which means low risk of problems for asthma sufferers. I think that we can develop a simple, clear approach for communicating PFAS risks. We're going to have these list of compounds nobody can pronounce and add them together, and you're looking at data. It's very confusing. We can do better and simplify. Simple communication encourages public engagement. We need more public engagement. And I'm going to end with a story that admittedly has nothing to do with PFAS exposures, but shows what's possible. So concern about mercury exposures to pregnant women in Rhode Island and the potential for impacts to their developing babies. In response, the health department's public health laboratory director led a study to determine mercury risk to newborns. Right after a baby was born, obstetricians tied off the umbilical cord and took a sample of blood from that umbilical cord, sent it to our lab. They analyzed it for heavy metals. We got the data we needed. No credit, no insurance charges. So that's a great example of a can-do act. And I think that's what we need.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr.
Thank you. My name is Meg Kerr. I'm the Director of Policy for the Audubon Society of Rhode Island, and we're here in support of both of these bills. Like Terry Gray, I don't want us to forget that we have this PFAS and food packaging bill. I really hope we can take action on it this year. We need to start addressing these super complicated chemicals that when you read about them get very scary when you think about all the ways we're being exposed to them. So that's a simple action, it seems to me, that the legislature can take to begin to take action on PFAS. On the drinking water bill, I share the concerns that I've heard in the comments that have been raised during the testimony here today. I was here last year testifying on this bill. In the intervening year, nobody has shared data with me that the health department has been collecting. Nobody has invited me to meetings to find out what the health department is doing. In fact, I don't have the data in front of me now. Maybe it's available somewhere and I didn't look deep enough for it. I think the reason to pass the bill is to require a public, transparent, regulatory process to begin to address these chemicals. And we've talked about the need for public education. That's not Audubon's job, it's the state agency's job as they collect these data to share it with the public and work with them to address these chemicals. I would be willing to say that there could be adjustments to the bill, maybe there's other things that we can do, but there are a lot of stakeholders that are very interested in this issue and would be ready and willing to work with the state agencies to come up with solutions. Certainly I can speak for Audubon, we would be. So I encourage you to pass the bills. Oh, I wanted to mention, so on the Department of Health website, they do have a section about PFAS. And they talk about how toxic it is, and they have recommendations for what you should do. Don't boil your water, drink bottled water, use water from a safe source for food preparation. Consider using formula that does not require adding water. These are their recommendations to the public for PFAS. But that is useless if it's not combined with data on your likely exposure or knowledge about what the levels are in your own drinking water supply. So we need that open public communication so that we can all regulate our risks to these chemicals. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for these three witnesses? Seeing no hands, thank you very much for your testimony. The next three people.